Academic stress is a growing concern in the Philippines, especially among students in higher education. According to Crisostomo, over 3.6 million Filipinos suffer from mental health disorders. And as Ombay and GMA News reported, in 2023, over 7.6 thousand suicide-related hotline calls in 2021, primarily from young people aged 18 to 30 due to stress. This context highlights the urgent need to address students' mental health. Within this population, student leaders face compounded pressures from academics and organizational responsibilities. Now, as Corpus in 2023 noted, academic pressure, social expectations, and financial difficulties are major stressors. Good day, everyone. I am Alexandra Timishana, together with my group mates Princess Siley Mancilia and Kenneth Petalcarin, are proponents of the study entitled Nganong Kapoy Man, a study on stress levels among student leaders across undergraduate programs at USEP Tagum Unit. Our study aims to explore how academic programs impact student leaders' stress at USEP Tagum Unit.
While much is known about student stress, we lack specific data on how academic programs impact student leader stress. We believe that understanding these differences can help institutions provide more targeted support. Our main objective is to determine if stress levels vary significantly among student leaders from different programs. We tested the null hypothesis that there is no significant difference in perceived stress levels across academic programs using alpha 0.05 level of significance.
Use two theories to guide our research. First, the transactional model by Lazarus and Folkman, which explains stress as a result of personal and environmental interaction, and second, the role theory, which describes stress arising from conflicting roles, in our case, being both a student and a leader. The transactional model explains stress as a dynamic process, not just something that happens to a person, but something shaped by how they appraise a situation and what coping resources they believe they have. This model is especially relevant for student leaders who face both academic responsibilities and leadership duties. Their stress levels can increase depending on how they perceive and cope with these overlapping demands. And by combining these two theories, our study aims to explore how student leaders experience stress differently and often more intensely and than the non-leaders due to the complexity of managing both academic and leadership roles. Now, let me now walk you through some of the key literature that guided this study. Stress is often defined as the gap between what's being demanded of a person and how well they think they can meet those demands. Jaramba et al. 2022 mentioned that as leadership responsibilities increase, so does academic pressure. Meanwhile, Yao et al. In 2020 suggested that access to supportive environments like peer mentoring can reduce stress levels among student leaders. Similarly, Darwan and Iqban in 2023 emphasized that while leadership roles foster life skills, poor stress management can lead to burnout. And Pedroso et al. In 2023 found that student leaders in education programs in the Philippines reported academic stress as a major contributor to burnout. And studies have consistently mentioned that academic workload is one of the leading stressors for students. Misra and Makian in 2000 found that students with heavier workloads reported higher stress and lower academic performance. Research also supports the idea that stress levels vary by academic program. And in summary, literature supports that academic stress is shaped by program demands, available support, gender, and cultural expectations, and all of which this study considers.
Villalon and Nebria 2024 highlighted that the nature of academic tasks influences how stress is perceived. Makernan and others 2022 noted that student pharmacists in leadership roles often experience reduced rest and social time due to their commitments. Mulenga and others 2016 reported that South African student leaders use training interventions to deal with role overload. Locally, Gonzaga and Oblianda 2022 documented high levels of burnout among students in Davao region. Lastly, Karaig and others 2022 showed that self-regulation can help student leaders manage stress more effectively. These findings highlight that stress among student leaders is not only global but also deeply contextual, especially within the Philippine setting.
This chapter explains the research design, sampling procedures, data collection methods, and data analysis techniques we use in this study. We employed a quantitative design and purposive sampling. Our participants were student council officers, and the data were gathered through an online survey questionnaire that asks participants about their stress levels in relation to their academic programs. Using an online format made participation easier and more accessible for students from different backgrounds and locations. We used the perceived stress scale distributed via online survey, and we analyzed the data using the Kruskal-Wallis H test appropriate for ordinal data. Overall, this research method allowed us to collect and analyze data in a systematic and trustworthy way to understand stress differences among student leaders.
Our analysis revealed that the p-value for the Kruskal-Wallis H test was 0.248, which exceeds the significance threshold of 0.05. This indicates that there were no statistically significant differences in the perceived stress levels among student leaders from different academic programs. Now, while some variation in mean ranks existed across the groups, these were not substantial enough to imply meaningful differences in stress experience. Table 1 presents the summary of our hypothesis test using the Kruskal-Wallis method. Since the significance value is greater than 0.05, we retain the null hypothesis. This means that the distribution of stress scores is statistically the same across all program groups. Now here in Table 2, we can observe the mean rank scores for each council. Sabes had the highest score of 37.43, while Offset had the lowest at 19.19. Despite these numerical differences, the lack of statistical significance means that we cannot attribute higher or lower stress levels to specific academic councils. These scores reflect perceived stress trends, but not conclusive patterns. Now at Table 3, the chi-square value of 7.869 with 6 as its degree of freedom and a significance level of 0.248 further supports the conclusion that no significant differences exist among the group. Now, our findings suggest that perceived stress among student leaders is more influenced by their shared experience of leadership and academic responsibilities rather than the nature of their academic program. According to Lazarus and Folkman's transactional model, stress arises from how individuals interpret and cope with their environments. Similarly, role theory explains how managing multiple roles, such as being a student and a leader, can create uniform stress experiences. This helps us understand why stress levels did not significantly differ despite variations in academic requirements. Now to conclude, our study shows that student leaders at USEP Tagum unit experiences comparable levels of stress regardless of their academic program. This uniformity supports the idea that leadership responsibilities, when combined with academic tasks, create a consistent stress profile across disciplines. Therefore, interventions and mental health programs should focus broadly on the challenges of student leadership rather than tailoring them strictly by academic field.
Based on the theoretical framework and reviewed literature, several recommendations are proposed to help address the stress experienced by student leaders across different academic programs. And we recommend broad mental health support for all student leaders. Programs such as time management workshops and stress seminars can help. And also, faculty should also be flexible with deadlines, and the guidance office should monitor student leaders' well-being proactively. Additionally, strengthening peer and faculty support systems through mentorship programs and support groups can further reduce stress and promote overall well-being. Finally, leadership training programs that emphasize emotional resilience and effective coping strategies should be integrated into student development plans, and this will be better prepare student leaders to handle the psychological demands of their roles. To conclude, our research highlights the unique and often overlooked stress faced by student leaders, especially across different academic programs. And by understanding how academic demands and leadership roles intersect, we can begin to create more supportive environments for these students. And we hope that our findings contribute to meaningful conversations and institutional changes that prioritize not just academic success, but also the mental well being of student leaders.